The Fourth Political Theory, A Critique and Book Review. By James P. Pearce. This is a bit of a critique and a bit of a book review, intermingled in and out as suits it. I completely disagree with him on a lot of key points and more. I disagree with his very Gnostic beliefs, which he interprets as a manifest destiny for Russia. This is not some anti-Russian tirade either, this is a critique and review of Dugin's book. I liked how Dyer glossed over on how he likes some of this and continues to associate with a known Satanist. Birds of a feather will always flock together, I guess. He has no idea what he is talking about when it comes to both Gnostic and Deist beliefs, so this is why I am putting this into a format that is easy to follow. The Fourth Political Theory is a dense read, and if you do not have a background in anything with traditionalism, Orthodox Christianity, or Russian history, you will be kind of lost within this reading. However, there are the strongest criticisms on liberalism as to what the West or how it was lost to this deism or Deist perspective, which is a pretty bold claim coming from a neo-pagan. It is not only people like him that choose to boldly claim the evils of the West, well as far his promotion of National Bolshevism goes, but it is also just as ridiculous thinking that Russia has the monopoly on the Third Rome mentality. Last time I checked, Orthodox Christianity did not want to be nor associate with Rome as in fear of becoming a centralized power, instead of being stewards to the faith, as the hierarchy of the Church should have limited power. This is not very complimentary to his takes on traditionalism either. This gives way to more Gnostic entanglements and not much else. I get that the West deserves to be criticized, and as a political dialectic, it certainly has lost its way all the up until the current year. Yet, at the same time, it does not have much of a stranglehold on American imperialism anymore. His criticisms also come from a cultural perspective. I would have to say this is the biggest portion as to which I agree with him. It is one thing to criticize the West for its politics, which across the board is problematic, but coming from someone who promotes Satan and National Bolshevism, that leaves him in no position to do that, just another version of the same dialectic really. As for cultural imperialism and the idea of democracy, there is definitely something way more substantial. As for the aforementioned belief systems, someone would have to be familiar with to criticize Dugin. This would hash itself out with politics or cultural imperialism. In my own take, I have already pointed out, across the board as a secular Satanism across the board. Unfortunately, as there has been an Orthodox revival of sorts in Russia, it still has been very problematic. I would heed caution, especially with someone like Putin, Dugin, or Patriarch Kirill as promoters of the true faith, just as I would with someone like Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew. Just like all men in power, they seem to forego the necessary stewardship. I can say I can give the benefit of the doubt to Patriarch Kirill and Bartholomew, but as for Dugin, who is known to have led satanic rituals, much like the connections to Dyer, then that is where the levee breaks.
This of course is a cultural critique because American cultural imperialism is by no means the end-all be-all for pinnacle cultural perfection.
Yet neither is the Russian answer. Unlike Dugan, I actually believe in Orthodox Christianity as the eternal answer to this, both political and spiritual, as a way to bring about symphonia. This is where the rubber should have met the road, this is where it did not. This is where the liberal dynamic or criticism of Russia has no idea as to what to do about it. This is where I can see the frustration and the criticisms of the West come into play. Take it from a critic as the author has this to say. Dugan's critique of unipolar globalism is equally compelling as is his advocacy for multipolarity. He convincingly shows how the neoconservative or liberal idea of a Euro-Atlanticist hegemony over all the Earth is based on the conceptualization of civilization in a singular sense, understanding by it American civilization, one, in contradistinction. He advocates, as a fourth political theory, for a multipolar world order, based on the paradigm of unique civilizations and great powers, too. So with this comes a very Gnostic perspective, because it does not reflect in what the sentence that preceded this is trying to convey. I've recently read through the Russian philosopher Alexander Dugin's The Fourth Political Theory, and overall, I must say I am quite impressed.
His critique of Enlightenment modernism and its heirs, which he identifies as liberalism, fascism, and socialism, is quite intriguing and, in many regards, convincing.
If he was a legitimate Orthodox Christian, none of this would be even up for debate or even in his purview. These are all just worldly answers to worldly problems. I really also have a hard time understanding why he would contradict himself as someone who should be very astute in a Christian ethos instead of a multipolar ethos. Yet the cosmopolitanism of the West is what might make him go into a seemingly schizophrenic frenzy that just ultimately winds up in secular Satanism, so on that cultural dynamic, we do agree on. Yet I do not see it as multipolar, as I can see how that would be a rejection to modernism and Enlightenment, yet what good is that to Orthodox Christianity? This is just more Enlightenment nonsense. I get that there needs to be a prevention of Western cultural imperialism, as it does a great deal to forego any kind of enlightenment from God, yet at the same time, the Russian Orthodox Church seems to be a political tool for someone like Putin and Dugan. There is a dangerous precedent when these are the only tools left to someone's disposal, yet for someone like Dugan to not promote as to what are the most important spiritual gifts at his disposal. Then why is he repackaging Enlightenment and secular satanic nonsense as to claim that Russia would be the Third Rome? I can say this with great confidence, as with many others, they have been heavily influenced by Zionism. The Enlightenment and criticisms of the West are just a bystander to his supposed criticisms. My Goodreads rating for this book was 3 out of 5 stars. Sources: https://thereformedconservative.org/Alexander-Dugans-4th-political-theory/